Hi, and welcome to the Bookkeepers Podcast. I'm Zoe Whitman. We're joined by Kate Powell today from Kingston Bookkeeping. We've worked with Kate for the last year or so, and Kate's doing some really amazing things to push her comfort zone that I think maybe Kate didn't know she was going to do this time last year. So excited to chat about that. Kate, it's really nice to see you. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you, Zoe. It's been a busy week so far, but it's going all right. Yeah. How are you?
We are good, aren't we, Jo?
We are really good, really good. This is our second kind of podcast episode of the day. We jumped in, we went live earlier in the group. And we love a Wednesday. It gives us a chance to get out there. But we love having these conversations. Kate, do you want to tell everyone, if they don't know of you already, who you are and why you got started in your bookkeeping business?
Well, I'm Kate from Kingston Bookkeeping, and I started my bookkeeping business back in 2008 when I had a 4-year-old son and a baby, and I loved my job. I was working in IT in the city, and I loved it, but there was no way that I felt that I could do that and do the kids. And my mum was a bookkeeper. I don't know if I've ever told you that, but my mum was a bookkeeper. So I had her there she was literally there with the ledgers at the dining room table, writing it all out. And that's what I grew up with. And I always thought, well, that's a nice job to do on the side and to work around the kids and do maybe 10 hours a week back in 2008 and start this business up and see how it goes and see what happens. But I mean, back in those days, it was all very much sort of typing in bank statements. There was no bank fees. There was no zero. And it was all it was very manual. It was all very much data entry and all the rest of it. And I was charging an hourly rate. And then I think probably about 5 years on, I first heard about not charging hourly rates and moving on to more of a service-based pricing system. So I started doing all of that and I changed everybody over to that. And my business kind of just grew. I had a website, which was all right. And I didn't do any marketing. And my clients just seemed to come along somewhere, somehow. And it kept on going and I kept on getting busier. And it's just the kids carried on growing up, so I carried on doing it on the side and carried on fitting it around the kids. And then it probably got to last year, there was a bit of a shift in the change and the reason why I got in touch with you guys. And that was because my oldest child had just gone to university and I'd spent 3 weeks crying into the fridge. Every time I opened the fridge, I burst into tears because he'd gone and he'd left me. But it was really odd because after those 3 weeks, those tears just went away. And then I think that was when I got in touch with you and I thought, I want to change my business and I want to do something more with it and I want to make it a grown-up business and I want to move it on. Yeah.
Oh wow. So this is really exciting. I'm really sorry about the crying into the fridge bit though. Was that all the things you'd expect your teenage child to have in the fridge were no longer there? Was it?
It was that I wasn't preparing food for him in the morning. It's ridiculous. I love feeding my kids. I probably do it too much. I'm always there offering them food, and the food wasn't there, or I didn't need to get out 2 apples. I only needed 1 because I only had the 1 child left at home. It was just something that simple, and the tears would just come. It was odd. It was 3 weeks of real weird kind of crying, and then suddenly disappeared.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's fine after that. It's been fine ever since. He's been fine now.
It's a grief, though. It's a grief, isn't it? It's like a change and a grief. Yeah.
It's a massive change because it was just about saying that part of my life was over. As much as the kids are all grown up, but they change, don't they? They don't need you in the same way. And it's just realizing that period of them needing you so much was changing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Kate, today, what does your business look like right now? Like, who's involved? How many clients have you got? What kind of work are you doing day to day?
I don't work on my own anymore. I subcontract out. I haven't taken the leap into employment yet, but I subcontract out a bookkeeper who works with me. I subcontract out payroll because I don't like doing payroll. I've got an accountant working with me on anybody where I need to get the accounts done. And I've got a VA as well. So I've got a real team of people who are supporting me now. And there's loads of new conversations that are going on that a year or so ago weren't happening. And it's a really nice place to be because you've got that backup and that support and all those ideas coming through.
So how different does it, now you have a team, are you able to support more people, and are you giving them a different service to when it was you?
Well, what I always found when it was just me is that we were always behind. As much as I love all my technology and I want to get everybody up to date, I was never really pushing those conversations because I never had the time to, and we were always behind, and I was always leaving everything to everybody wanted to leave everything to the last minute. So you get to the 5th of the month and the VAT returns due in 2 days' time, and you still haven't had all the information from your client. And I would never get myself ahead enough to start getting them into a system where they had to give it to me earlier and start training the clients into doing that. Whereas Vicky came on board and started working with me on the bookkeeping, and she just went through them all. It was just like I was able to concentrate on sort of the harder, the more trickier clients, and she just went through the backlog and just got everybody up to date. So if we've got anybody sort of earlier than August now who's not up to date, then I don't think there is. I think they're all up to date till at least August.
So the benefit being obviously headspace and being able to do more for the clients.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about the money side of it though? Because I think people often see bringing a team in as an expense. I think for you it's been an investment, but has it made a difference in terms of what you're able to take home out of the business?
It's starting to. I lost one of my largest clients because their business wasn't working out earlier on a few months ago. If that hadn't happened, then absolutely. But what is interesting now that has happened is that even though they have gone, it's a bit better than it was. Do you know what I mean? I've got the pillars, I've got everything, the foundations there, even though they went. So the profit's there. No, the profit hasn't changed. And I look at the amount of client hours that I'm spending on the business, and it's great. I'm not spending the same client hours. It's all about growing and designing and moving things forward and keeping on improving that and changing the software and continually growing that profit. And even despite all the subcontractors, it's growing. Yeah.
And how do you feel like happiness? I think we don't get asked enough about, we get asked about turnover and number of clients and profit and things, but with regards to how you feel about your business, do you feel better now that you have a team supporting you and things are up to date? Or do you feel like there's extra pressure because you've got more people? How do you feel about it?
We've got it really well laid out. The admin side of it, so we know which client is which, is really well laid out. So even though we've got more clients, we can easily find the notes or the last comments made to know exactly where we are with them, and to know anyone can know where we are with those clients without too much difficulty. So that bit's fine. And what's really nice is you can start having a conversation. I got so excited this week. I've got about 3 transactions left on one of my clients, and they've done all the rest because there's so much work getting involved and getting them to give you the information, and sometimes they can be a bit slow, but I've been really nagging these guys into giving me the information. We have 3 transactions outstanding, so I can actually give them management accounts. I know it's probably a bit later than I want it to be, on the 16th of the month, but now we can actually do the management accounts that they really need to get their cash flow and understand where they are, and to make sure that they're paying the right people, and that they can actually have those conversations to move their own business forward. And that's where it starts to get really interesting, and you get really involved, and they seem happy with me because they know that everything's under control and they feel in control. It's been quite a shift. That's even been in the last couple of months. I'd say that's really shifted.
Lovely. And Kate, when I think about 2008 and I think about what I was doing in 2008, and it was a long time ago, and I was working in local government, and I picture Kate with a 4-year-old and a baby working at home with the ledgers and everything. You've obviously gone through heaps of change in terms of like technology having changed, the way you do bookkeeping has changed, the kind of support you can give to clients has changed. But you've just taken that in your stride, and I think that's really interesting. Do you like? I know you're really interested in technology and things naturally anyway, so I guess that's been helpful. But we're also experiencing lots of change at the moment, and I feel like you've lived through this in business already.
Yeah.
So you're so ready for what happens next. But what do you think is the secret of you being able to take the clients on the journey? Or have you felt that every time you've implemented something new, you've lost clients and you've had to start again? I hope that's not the answer.
No. I mean, my oldest client has been with me. I think he was my second client in my business back in 2008, and I still work with him now. And he started on a spreadsheet, and then we moved him and we moved him into cash flow back in those days, and then we've moved him into zero, and then he's gone from receipt bank to debt to apron. I mean, he's done the whole journey with me, and he's not that into all the technology, but he's into it enough just to see that it's useful and making me happier, and that everything's ticking over, and he doesn't need to worry. I think for him, his big thing is that he doesn't want to worry. He wants to know that it's all done. He's not going to miss his deadline. He can see that the cash is in the bank. He knows everybody's paid him, which is the big thing that he needs to know, which he, back in the days of the spreadsheet, he didn't know. And he didn't believe it when I told him that somebody hadn't paid him, because he's like, well, they're a good friend, they'd have paid me. It's like, well, no, they really haven't. And now those conversations don't need to happen because he trusts the system. So he's trusted the software all the way through. It's about trust, isn't it? It's about him coping with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about, like, listening, you have stepped up into that grown-up business owner. And I think we've all, when we start our businesses, we start for a certain reason, and then that reason is no longer there. You don't have baby and little one at home anymore, and you have more space and time. But actually what we realize is that just because we have this space and time doesn't mean we want to spend all of that time doing the work. You have stepped into the role of the CEO. What does, thinking about the next 3 years, 5 years of Kingston Bookkeeping, what are your hopes for it? Do you have growth plans? Do you want to stay the same but keep changing how systems and processes and automations work? And what do you see for the future?
My big thing, actually, just in the last couple of weeks, is I am planning I think I've booked it in that, I have booked it, I know that I've booked in a vacation, as they call it in America, a holiday in July 2026. Which sounds like an awfully long time away, but that's when my youngest finishes his A-levels. And I'm going to take a 4-week holiday out of my business, and I'm not going to be in touch with my business. That's my aim. So I've got just under 2 years to get to that point. It's like, how do I get to that point? How can I make those steps to get to that point in July 2026? And I've put the dates in the calendar, and they're there. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to have that time off.
That's amazing. That sounds really amazing.
You've then got to work out the ideas how you're going to get there, isn't it? So it's like I've got one subcontracted bookkeeper now, so I think I'm going to need another to be able to support that, to be able to do it. So you start making those incremental changes about how do I get the next bookkeeper in, at what point is my business ready for the next bookkeeper, and to make sure that they're on board properly.
And it is changing all the time as well, isn't it? Because you go through one cycle, just like you demonstrated when you spoke about moving the software, moving from spreadsheet to, cash flow or whatever. And you go through a change and you level, and then you go through a change and then you level. And it's like, it's always evolving in business. It's never going to stop.
It isn't, is it? It's just keeps on going, because there's new and better software coming up all the time, isn't it? It's like now I'm using a robot at the moment. I'm trialing a robot at the moment. I'm loving it. It's really great fun to be doing that. I'm loving it.
So Kate, we wanted to talk to you about pushing your comfort zone, and because you've been doing loads, you've got so much coming up. Tell us, tell us for the rest of the year, what have you got coming up right now that's going to push your comfort zone?
Oh, well, the main thing is on November the 11th, I'm going to be on stage at the ICB Summit for 20 minutes, which is, it's just amazing. It also has given me sleepless nights already, but it is amazing to be doing that. It's just, and trying to prepare for that. And I've got no idea what I've never done something so big before. And even coming on here is nerve-wracking enough. So how that's going to feel on the day, I've got no idea, but I'm also really excited.
I love that. Because actually, I say this to my children all the time. When they say, I'm really nervous, I'm like, is it nerves or is it excitement? And they look at me and I'm like, because it feels very similar. Can you tell what the difference is, or is it a mixture of both? And they try and go inwards and try and figure out what it is. But I then tell myself that. And I know I spoke on that stage last year, Kate, and I was nervous and I was excited, and it was out of my comfort zone. So I think it's all very natural. I don't think there's anybody that would get on a stage, and if you felt nothing, I often, me and Zoe say, it's because we care. We care. We don't want to make fools of ourselves, of course, but also we care that the people that are spending that time sit in there, get some benefit out of it, and they feel that it was a worthwhile session. Do you want to tell us about what are you going to be speaking about on that day?
Okay, I'll give it a go. Right, so I'm going to be speaking about how to provide a gold standard bookkeeping service. So, and to me, this is all about working with the clients and them, and it starts before you even start working with them. So when you're selling to them in the first instance, in those service lines, that we say things like monthly bookkeeping will cost you X amount. And it's just like, well, what does monthly bookkeeping actually mean? I mean, what I mean by monthly bookkeeping could be different from what you mean or what Zoe means, and definitely the client's given it no thought ever what at all. So what do we really mean? Okay, we're going to update your bookkeeping. What, we're going to go in once a month and just log in and do it then, and then that's your only chance, and you don't get to speak to us all month long, or when did we expect them to give us the information, or is there a time limit, and so it's just working out, what do you mean by monthly bookkeeping? Because we all mean different things. So for me, monthly bookkeeping means that I will do their bookkeeping all the way through the month, because the robot will be doing the bookkeeping. We might be doing odd bits of bookkeeping as we see it come through Apron. But that means, as far as I'm concerned, I've decided that means that on week 1 and week 3, we will have a touch point with the client. So for me, monthly bookkeeping means twice a month you're going to get that touch point where we will ask you for information, we'll check what we need from you, and then we'll give you a report at the end of it to tell you how you're doing, hopefully, if they've given us all the right information. And that report might even just be a health check to say you've not given us all the information yet. It's just whatever that is. And I think we're not clear enough to our clients what we really mean by the different terms we come up with. And I know over the years, I've had things in there like, I will do your monthly reconciliations, or I will update your journals. It's like, when does a client know what a journal is or really care what a journal is? And it's just changing those words and trying to make those lines mean something to the client. They don't feel stupid to ask the question, and they understand what they're paying for, and that they're, rather than this gobbledygook and they don't really know what's going on, they just think it's all done in the corner. You want to get them involved and understand the process, so that they want to be involved and not scared by it. So it's all about trying to get them to collaborate, with the idea that we can build their confidence so they know what they're doing in their business and they can move forward, and we're all happy in the end.
Yes, and it's that, I love this. I mean, Jem and I talk about this all the time as well. So you are preaching to the converted, but your way of delivering this is different to somebody else's. And if you can really pinpoint why you're different, why your service is different, and why your service is right for the kind of client you work with, you can differentiate yourself, and you're not an hourly rate bookkeeper compared based on who's the cheapest.
Yeah, exactly. So my clients have to be very IT focused with me. They have to be on that journey now. I mean, they have to be happy to put photos into Apron, and they have to be happy to receive a report from me a particular way and log into a new piece of software, and they've got to be up for those changes as we go along. Yeah.
The other thing that is setting you apart by standing on a stage and talking about this is the fact that you are a visible bookkeeper. You are raising and building a personal brand, and by showcasing the fact that you've spoken at Accountex and DAS and now at the ICB Summit, you are putting yourself out there as an expert in your profession, and that will then attract a different clientele. That will also give you that authority with your clients to say, I know what I'm talking about. Other people in my industry are listening to me about what I'm talking about. And I'm sure that wasn't, we've been on this journey with you. This was not something that you was actively seeking out to do. Can you talk us through like how you've been on that journey, and how you ended up putting yourself forward to speak on the stage, this big stage? It's been a bit of a journey, isn't it?
Oh, completely. I mean, you think back to last October. I mean, I was doing no social media. I've never posted really on social media in a personal or business way forever, really. So to even be posting on social media and putting things out there is a real step up for me, to let that be known and to put myself out there. And to get an offer to speak at something like DAS, even sort of on the panel, and it's just like, I promised myself when I signed up to the mastermind that I was going to say yes. it was just about saying yes. So anything that happens, it's like, if this is the world I want to be involved in, and I want to enjoy it, and I want to get the most out of this business of mine. I want to have fun with it. I don't want to just sit back and just expect it all to come to me. It's about taking things on. And I'm never going to be the best person on stage, I don't think. I'm never going to be the funniest, but I've got a message that I can give, and I've got things I want to say. And I don't need to be those things, because I've got things that I think can help other people, and they actually help me, because like you say, it makes my confidence better with my clients when I'm doing those sales calls, or even just those monthly calls to say how they're doing. It just gives you that confidence to deal with people, and so it's really, yeah, I don't know why. I just refused to not say. I wanted to say yes. I want to say yes to everything, because even turning up in a video call and seeing myself in a video call is like, oh my God, I can't watch myself. And turning up and that would be happening every fortnight that we were doing those video calls. And it's just, even turning up on those is hard work, or it used to be. But if you don't say yes, you're never going to improve, are you? And you're never going to gain anything. And I always think that I want to get to 6 o'clock at night, and I want to look back at my day and think, did I do okay? And it's something I've always told the kids, if they've not wanted to go to school for a day, or they're scared about a teacher saying something because they've not done their homework or anything. It's like, well, you can spend the day at home with me, or you go to school and you face up to it. And then which one's going to make you feel better at 6 o'clock tonight? And it's just always looking forwards a little bit. And how am I going to feel by then? If I put myself in a scary position, how am I going to feel? And it's like, I think that's the thing that keeps me going, is I want to sit in that chair at 6 o'clock tonight and think, yeah, I did that today. Might not be the best, but I've done it.
I think your talk will be really valuable. And, we speak to different people all the time, and people bring, like, everyone has a different personality. You're kind and generous, and you've got something of value that the people in the room need to hear what you're going to say about the gold standard service. They 100% need to hear it. So, that there will be someone in that session who is like, oh, I've got to go and do something with this. And it's that, isn't it? It's that value. Like, how many times have you been to a conference or an event and had to sit for an hour through someone who will not shut up, who is going on, and, you feel drained by the end? No one's going to feel like that listening to your presentation. So, but yet you have people who come who, like, I speak very fast. I've got lots of ideas very quickly, and I want to tell you everything and make it all happen today. Someone else we had a chat this morning with Jonathan Gaunt, and he's got a very, like, methodical approach to conversation, and he slows us down, he slows me down in a way that allows me to take on board what he's saying. He does it with a very different energy, but I hope that neither of us is less engaging. So, it's just a style thing. And I think one of those conversations we had right at the beginning of the mastermind, I can remember us chatting about visibility. And we had a really honest conversation as a group about not wanting to be in photos, not wanting photos of ourselves, not feeling good about ourselves. And we did something about that. We're like, right, we're going to make you feel good about yourself, and we're going to get a photographer in. Let's take some photos. That was our sort of approach to it. But there are things where you have to think, okay, like you said, say yes. This, I will get to the end of this and I will feel good about it. And you've done all of that. It's brilliant.
Yeah. And I mean, when I applied to do the ICB Summit, I mean, I just had so much to say that night. I was there with my glass of wine, and I just had so much I wanted to say. And it's just like, I just got to remember that and just keep that going, and remember what I wanted to say that night when I filled in that application form. So,
yeah. What would you say to a bookkeeper that's listening now to you and thinking, well, it's fine for her to say that? She's obviously very confident, and she's been in this business for a very long time, and it's okay for Kate. It wouldn't be okay for me, because Zoe and I hear that a lot. What would you say to them?
I would tell them about my sweaty palms right now as coming on here today. I mean, this morning I've managed to do some work, but it's been I've been quite distracted this morning, knowing that this was going to be coming along. It's not easy to just turn up and do these things. I remember at Dad's, I don't know if you noticed on stage, Joe, but my leg was physically shaking. I had to hold it down with my hand because I could feel it. But then when I went to Accountex and I was speaking about how wonderful Gemma is as a VA, because I was speaking about how wonderful Gemma is as a VA, it was all about her. So that was a lot easier than trying to do that. And it was also the second one, I think. So there's very small steps, aren't there? Every time it improves, every time you do it, it gets slightly easier. And it's just you've got to say yes. It's just, what's the worst that can happen?
What do you think was what was the driver that's managed you to get out of your own way? What did you see? Because sometimes we need that carrot. You know, what do you think is going to be more possible for you? Do you know what? We were talking about this before. You said, I can help my clients more if I get out of my own way. That's kind of what I'm thinking is what, but was there something else?
I think you're right. It's partly, I want to be able to tell my kids that I've tried and I've given something a go, because I don't want them to ever be scared to give something a go. But you're right, it's on the client side of it, particularly, is if I can make those conversations easier for me to have and I can give a benefit to them, I can keep on improving that relationship. Because as much as we're using all this technology now, the nice thing about using that technology is that it becomes, the human side of it becomes more and more. When I started back in 2008, I was sat there on a spreadsheet at my desk trying to put in those transaction lines from the bank statement, and I wasn't really speaking to people. I was just there on my own doing my thing, and late into the night, whatever I was doing. Whereas now you can, as a bookkeeper, it's all about that human interaction, isn't it? It's all about the conversations you can have, and you can help people get paid, and you can make a real difference to their lives if you help them get paid, and they can change things in their own lives. And it's just that is the beauty of what we do, isn't it? We can actually make differences in our clients' lives and make them good.
Yeah, it's that. And I think that's it, like holding on to, by delivering the bookkeeping service that I do, I help my clients' lives. And by doing these things that get me out of my comfort zone, I get the opportunity to help other people to change their lives. Yeah. And it's okay. Like, I think there's part of us that would be like, oh, I couldn't possibly say that about myself. Like, you know, how dare I say I can change someone's life? But actually, you can. There'll be someone in the room who will message you and say, oh my gosh, that helped me so much.
Yeah, well, I hope so. And I hope they do message me and say that. And if they want to have an opinion on it as well, I hope I get to hear that as well, because this journey's not over at this point. It's not like I know it all. I really don't know it all. I'm still this. I suppose that's partly why I am probably a little nervous about doing the thing in November. It's because I don't have it all worked out. It's not there as a finished job, and here I am with my list of services all worked out, what I mean by each service, and all jargon free and everything like I wanted to. I know where I want it to be, but it's not there yet. And it's a continual journey, isn't it? And it's all those conversations with all the other bookkeepers and accountants that keep making that evolve into something that's real, because I can't do it all on my own.
No. And we're never a finished product, are we? That's the truth. And like when we came onto this platform today, you were having a little dance party in the background with Neil Diamond, because you were building your energy up and getting it out of your own way. And we talk about this a lot. There are tools and tricks to help you get out. And I remember, you know, I often talk about in 2018-19 when I had to do a LinkedIn video about the fact that I needed clients. I was standing in my kitchen, hands on hips, legs apart a bit, doing the Superman pose. I recorded that video, I don't know, 25 times. I don't know how many times, over and over again. And people nowadays say, well, it's easy for you. No, it's practice. It's continuously putting yourself out of your comfort zone. Zoe and I have just announced today that we're going to be speaking at Accountex Canada in November. Do you think we're a bit nervous? Absolutely. Have we ever done that before? No. Are we looking forward to it? Yeah, in equal measure. Yeah. But it's because we know that the more times we've done things, your subconscious realizes that you didn't die. It's okay. Yeah. You're a little bit safer than you feel. Like, you feel unsafe, but actually when you get off the stage, you're like, oh. But something that happens to me, Kate, which is hilarious, is that I forget everything that I said while I'm speaking. I come off and it's like an amnesia, and I go to Zoe, was that all right? She's like, you're brilliant when you said that. And I was like, did I say it? I don't remember. I literally don't remember. And I think it's some kind of safety mechanism. It's like a trauma, but I also feel buzzing and amazing and on a high. And I think it's great. And then afterwards, when people come up and speak to you and you're like, oh, I did it. And actually, it's not really about other people. It's you, like you said, that 6 p.m. in the evening, you know, like, I've done it. I've pushed myself out of that comfort zone. And that can come from doing like going on a dog walk when it's raining outside and not really wanting to do it, or doing something for yourself and feeling proud. So I'm like so impressed with what you've done over this last year. We can see it. Hence why we wanted to have you here today to share with other people that it is possible. And people assume that you're an overnight success, Kate. They'll see you on stage and think, oh, well, you know, obviously it's been easy for her. And she's been lucky. But no, you've put yourself forward. You were having a sip of wine while writing that entry to stand and speak on stage. And you were nervous and you have been excited, but there's been a journey behind it. Kate, if people want to connect with you, our bookkeepers, because I'm sure you've inspired lots of people today, where's the best place for them to connect on social media?
They can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. But if you find me on LinkedIn, I'm under Kate Powell, and I'm happy to connect with anyone who wants to talk about it or to work out what they're doing, or anyone who's at the start of their own journey and they just don't know where to go, because back in 2008 there wasn't anything like this or any other Facebook groups going on. And I just think it's so good that bookkeepers can talk to each other and share stuff and find their own ways of doing things from that and get inspired. I think it's really, really cool.
Oh, thank you so much, Kate. Really enjoyed this, and I'm excited to see you at the Bookkeepers Summit. We'll be there, and you know, obviously your biggest cheerleaders. So thanks for being here, and we will. And thanks everyone for tuning in as well. We'll see you next week for another episode of the podcast. Take care. Bye.